and working as an online accountant and bookkeeper for almost 2 years. I was part of this batch two of the 13-week course for accountants and tax preparers. So that was around August last year. And then I have this client which I got from Upwork. The client has a huge problem on her books. So I think of Bedrock. I think of Joe because I know very well that Joe is really genuine, sincere in helping small business owners in the US. So what I did is I told my client to book a call with Joe so that she can directly communicate with Joe and mention about her business, not only cleaning up her books, but Joe can also help her in organizing her financials. For me, Bedrock Partnership Program, in one word, it's more on learning. Since I am part of the partnership program, so I learned a lot from Joe directly because we are working on the same client. So working with Joe means lots of learnings about US accounting, about US taxation. So it's learning. From August up to now, I continue to learn so many things from Joe because we're working on the same books. So that means that I learn so many practical things from him. So that's actually one of the precious and most valuable things that I benefit from Bedrock. I can't believe actually that Joe is mentioning to me that, okay, Malona, let us have a call. So I told myself, what a free call with him around 30 minutes, 1 hour, or more than 1 hour. So imagine, saan ka makikita ng US accountant na magbibigay sa'yo ng ganun kahabang oras, tapos ganun ka-valuable, yung pinagkukwentuhan nyo, ganun ka-valuable, yung tinuturo niya sa'yo. That is the most precious and valuable thing that I learned from church. Humility, and at the same time, the learnings that no one can ever get that from me. You have to get this chance to be partner of Bedrock because not only the monetary amount that we receive from affiliate fees, but also the learnings that we can get being a Bedrock partner. So that is my message to all the online accountants and bookkeepers or students of Bedrock. Thank you.
By the end of this video, I'll give you a line I'm sure will get you out of a
Hi everyone, I'm Mariko Manalo.
Wait until the end.
Everybody, I am Eileen Caballoya.
Hello, I am Kathleen Ikban.
Hi there, thank you for checking out my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. This video is
I've
not
been
my usual
a
content.
corporate
It's not about
employee
English
for more than
or
10 years,
math or
working in accounting.
I am virtual assistant since 2018, but before that, I was working in the corporate world as a bank manager for
Thank you
almost
everyone.
13 years.
Certified public accountant, and I'm also a registered financial advisor.
Transitioning to freelancing with the help of all the knowledge that I've learned from Bedrock, the accounting courses that I've took.
For now, venturing into freelancing, and I am now focusing to being an accountant.
I enrolled with the 13-week course of Bedrock certification course, and I found about it on Accounting People's group of Coach Yan.
My life before Bedrock is it was difficult really in freelancing. You have to market yourself. Before yung Bedrock, nagkakaroon ako ng medyo confidence issue sa pag-a-apply. Ito yung course na naisip ko na pwedeng mag-boost ng confidence ko.
Lalong na-boost yung confidence ko to talk with client.
Joe as a mentor doesn't only teach about US accounting, but his experience doing accounting in US. You cannot get that with other people kasi nandun siya mismo sa tawag nga natin ay war zone.
Iba kasi siya magturo. Gusto niya kasi na kung ano yung knowledge niya, gusto niya i-impart doon sa student niya. You are not only learning from him, pero natututo ka din sa sarili mo.
Kumbaga, hindi spoon feeding. He lets you think out of the box. Kumbaga, parang ganon. Ang dami ko talagang natutunan na hindi siya available online. When you share ni Joe sa classroom, hindi mo siya mahanap anywhere. Wala sa YouTube, wala sa Google.
More than teaching, parang sa kanya yung students talaga parang family na rin. Bihira naman yung ganong course na nakikipag one-on-one sa'yo yung mentor. You cannot get this information or mentoring in other programs, not in the Philippines.
Yan posted it in our group. Joe is offering for a scholarship. I grabbed it agad-agad. When I was granted to become a scholar, oh no, I told myself, wow, this is the chance that I will become an accountant. Since I am not an accountant. Actually, I cried. I was so happy that time.
After taking the course, I got multiple US clients.
Nag-post na ako ng certification ko. Pusot-pusot na yung offers sa akin. I received 10 offers, 12 offers. Pag may skill ka, lalo na pag accountant ka, lalo na pag may certificate ka na, marami talagang hahabol sa'yo. Maraming mag-o-offer sa'yo. Kaya ikaw na lang yung pipili kung saan yung gusto mo.
Kung makakapag-build tayo ng ganitong career, work from home, having US clients, I think mas mapupoost yung work-life balance natin dahil dito.
Learning US accounting and tax preparer is a big leap for us freelancer. There are millions of clients who needs this service, so it is really in demand.
If you really want to equip yourself, magkaroon ng edge sa ibang mga freelancers, this is the great opportunity for you.
Especially Joe for thank you everyone, especially Joe for an incredible US payroll masterclass. What stood out to me wasn't just a technical know-how, but Joe's real-life insights and advice. It's been both motivating and inspiring, truly a game changer for me. His experiences actually brought the lessons to life, making the complex seem simple. So cheers to what we've learned and to where we're headed, armed with knowledge and inspiration. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's morning where I am. I'm actually in my aunt's kitchen in the U.S. So I definitely missed the Philippines. I'm coming back this weekend, and wow, we still got people signing in. Good evening, Eileen. How are you?
Great, Joe. Good evening.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna give people another minute to chime in. I'm gonna see if I could share my screen. So I'm at a disadvantage. I'm not in my home turf, and I'm actually working from a laptop. So I only have one screen and it's small. Uh, Can you see that, Eileen?
Yes, it's good, Joe.
Okay. It's not the full screen, but that's wow, so it looks like we're gonna have see if I can navigate my thing here. We got over 100
100.
attendees. Wow. It's a good thing we upgraded our Zoom account. I know the first webinar we did with Mary Ann's group, we had 100 people, and that was our max. So yeah, I have a feeling more people will show up, but thank you for all of those videos. Sometimes I forget how many students we've had come through Bedrock. And what's exciting for me is we have more and more courses coming up. We're just going to keep adding courses because there's a demand. I didn't, so today's overview, and this isn't even the full course because there's so much to cover when it comes to sales tax. Uh, I hesitated to put this together because it's so comprehensive, and you'll see when we get into it. But this is what everybody was asking for. So if you ask for it, we're going to put it out there for you. What I'd like to do, because I've learned a little bit more about getting client or student participation, I'm interested to know how many of you have actually done a sales tax return or uh, need to do a sales tax return because you have a client that's asking you for it. Either, my guess is that some of you or a lot of you might have clients in e-commerce. Okay, so that that in itself poses a problem when it comes to sales tax, and I'm going to explain why that is, why it's complicated, and what you have to do to handle that. People in the construction industry have really complicated rules and regulations. So if you can imagine, there's more and more businesses popping up in the United States, and I believe the bulk of them are going to be online. Now, what do you do with the client that sells online and offline? Okay, so right now you have uh, two different platforms. So we're gonna go into this. I have over 30 slides. I'm gonna go through some of these quickly. Uh, but like I said, what I'd like to see in the chat is if you've ever done a sales tax return, let me see a one. And if you need to get a sales tax return done because you have a client, uh, give me a two. Or if you're just interested in upskilling your knowledge, give me a three. So that's a one, two, or a three. Okay, thanks, man. So Royce has one, two, and three. Okay. So I see a lot of threes here, some ones, two, and three. All right. So for all the threes, congratulations. It's always good to upskill. You can't get enough knowledge, and when it comes to the U.S. Tax landscape, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse, and I don't think I cover that in the slideshow, but I'm going to explain to you why it's going to get worse. Number one, technology. Okay, the governments, just like us, if you think about it, we've never had access to so much technology for it's so inexpensive. Okay. If I don't know if any of you are using AI yet, but if you're not, you really need to start using it. Okay. It's made, research, you know, simple and automatic. Uh, the fact that the governments are now upgrading all of their computer systems, so they're linking to each other in ways that they never did before. So and it started with the US Post Office. Now if you move, the IRS knows that you move. Because a lot of people, believe it or not, try to hide from the IRS. They try to hide from the government. They'll move and they're not going to tell the government. Well, they don't want to miss their mail. They don't want to lose their mail. So they're going to tell the post office, listen, if I get any mail, I want you to forward it here. And so that was one of the first ways the government started tracking people. That was like 10 or 15 years ago. Uh, the fact that there's hundreds of billions of dollars in uncollected taxes, and most of those are sales taxes. You see, in the United States, and I'm going to get into this now. Let's go through the slides if that's okay. Uh, So this is just like I said, this is just an introduction. This is a free webinar. Uh, so people are still showing up. So for people that just showed up, if you could put in the chat, I'd like number 1, 2, or 3. 3 if you're just here to learn about sales tax. 2 if you have a client that you need to get your sales tax done, or 1 if you've ever done a sales tax return. So it could be 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have more threes. Wow. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what is sales tax? It's not the VAT. You see, the way it works in the United States, it's totally different than the Philippines. And most other countries. Okay, so I only see sales tax in the United States. And what this is it's added, it's added to your bill. See, when I get a bill from a restaurant, right, Marianne? Marianne knows about getting bills from restaurants. Uh, it includes the tax. It includes the tax. In the United States, you get a bill for $100. It doesn't include the tax. So right away you're adding, and I know it's the VAT is built in to the bill, but just the psychological part of it. If you could understand the way American people think, it's like plus tax. If I could get out of the tax, I'm going to save money. Okay, so that's the first thing. It's a consumption tax. It's collected by the individual who it's collected by the vendor. Okay. Now, who is a vendor? We're going to cover that, but it's a big responsibility placed on the business owner. Okay. Now, this also it's not for federal purposes, all the state sales taxes go to one of these jurisdictions, one or more. Okay. So if you haven't taken one of my tax courses, this is a map of the United States. There's 50 different states. Okay. 50 different states, all with their own rules and regulations when it comes to sales taxes. Okay. Not only that, it's broken down by locality. So you could have, like, New York State, the sales tax is actually 4.5%. But I pay where I am right now 8.75%. Why is that? Because the locality, Nassau County, adds sales tax. So depending on where you live or where you buy merchandise, isn't just by state, it's by locality. New York City has their own sales tax. Okay. I'm gonna see okay, so Emin ra raised a hand. Is that because you have a question? I will stop for questions. So also, if you have a question and you're too shy, uh, what you can do is post it in the chat. And we're up to 170 people, a new bedrock record. Uh, this is going to be fun to take the picture, Eileen.
Later. Joe, can you make it full screen, your presentation?
Uh, I can, but it makes it hard for me.
You're on your laptop.
How is that? Is that better?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
but then I don't
Better.
see the, hold on a second. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You see it? Okay. Okay. So not only do you have this conglomeration of not only do you have this to deal with, you also have some U.S. territories. Now, don't get too frightened because the truth is, I haven't even come close to having to do any kind of sales tax in most of these jurisdictions. But you have to be aware of it. For instance, I've had clients in Florida doing house cleaning, believe it or not. So she had to be registered as a vendor. But now here's the thing, where she did her business, commercial establishments were not subject to sales tax, but residential were. Okay, you're talking about a woman with a part-time cleaning service, and now she's got to keep track of her sales tax. Okay. So where does the federal come into this versus the state? Because everything, so there's what we call the state rules, but the federal comes in when it has to do with all the states, if that makes sense. So there's the federal rules. So for instance, I'll give you uh, the most recent example. Marijuana, hi, in the United States wasn't legal. It was considered like a narcotic. Okay. So if you sold it, you were breaking the law. until Colorado, one of the states, decided that they were going to make it legal. Now, I forget how long ago this was, but first it was them, then California, then a, a bunch of other states made it legal. It was legal at the state level, but not at the federal level. So all of a sudden now you had legitimate businesses in Colorado, California, uh, selling marijuana, but it was a federal offense. Like, so the laws conflicted with each other. So what happens? What that means is that the marijuana businesses could not use a U.S. bank. Okay, the U.S. banks are the jurisdiction, I guess, is federal. No, they're federally insured. Okay, so if a bank in the United States goes out of business, the federal government will cover the money. So because of that, the federal government said, "Oh no, pot isn't legal in most of these states, so you can." So now, if you have a marijuana business, believe it or not, you have to pay everything in cash. You can only take cash, and you have to pay everything in cash. Also, for tax purposes, you're not allowed to deduct any expenses. So think about that. You can't use the banking system and you can't deduct any expenses. You still got to pay taxes on the gross amount of money. Okay. But what happened was a whole bunch of other states started making it legal. A whole bunch of other states. And then what happens? The politicians get involved and they pass a new law. So now the federal law, they're changing it to like from a narcotic to, something else like tobacco. So now those businesses are going to be able to use the banking system. They're going to be able to deduct their payroll expenses and all the other stuff. Okay. So that's how the federal overlaps the state. It's important. Uh, so when I got into what do you call it? Well, let me cover uh this slide because this is also important. So one of the reasons why the states don't get all of their sales tax money, it's not even because of fraud. It's because of the what we call the nexus rules. Okay, and we're going to cover that.
Kuan,
Uh,
gawas man di yung topic.
but the nexus rules that they try to level the playing field. And this is how the nexus rules work. When I live in New York, okay, if I buy something on the internet from a state not in New York, like from out of state, New Jersey, Connecticut, I don't have to pay sales tax. That until now, until now. Okay, so think about this. When I bought something from Amazon, if I bought it from a company in New Jersey, I saved the 8, almost 9% sales tax. So it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to the people in New York. So rather than wait until the government made them, Amazon decided to just tax everybody. They registered in all the states and they did it. Later on, and we're going to cover this, it was forced. The rules were changed by the federal government. The use tax, what that was supposed to be is if I bought something from New Jersey, I was subject to a use tax. It's the sales tax only I got to voluntarily pay it. Okay. It's not like I'm exempt. If they audited me, if I was a business, because law firms used to do this a lot, they would buy their furniture from a company outside of the state. The New York State Sales Tax Department would come in and audit them and charge them the use tax. It was almost unenforceable. Okay, but I'm just telling you that is still in effect. So that's sales tax versus use tax. So there are, like I said, there's differences in the state and local rates. There's differences in what's taxable. There's differences in what the exemptions are. So here's how we deal with all of this insanity. We focus on the states where our clients are. Okay. You have to be aware of the industry and the location. Okay, so let me see. Are there questions? Yeah, I think there's some questions in here, Eileen. Let me stop.
Yes.
Uh, Julia says, will the sales tax be based on which? Yes. Okay, so in this case, Julius, so the question is, will the sales tax be based on what the goods and services? Okay, I think you mean where the goods and services are. For example, the business is physically, yeah. So in this case, if so, okay, hold on. In this case, I would not have to pay sales tax, but I would owe use tax, if that makes sense. But how is the government right now? The government doesn't have a way to enforce the use tax. But now also, and I'm going to explain this to you, it's not up to me. It's not up to me, the person buying it. It's up to the vendor. Okay. And we're going to cover that. The sales taxes are what they call trust fund taxes. And the vendor, it's not up to him or her. It's up to the state, what the law is. So you have to register to collect sales tax, but if you don't register and you were supposed to, you have to pay all those taxes that you were supposed to collect. It's a big responsibility. And a lot of businesses in the United States just ignore it, especially people in the construction industry. I butt heads with them all the time. Why? Because they don't want to charge their clients sales tax. And then even if they do, then there's other complications. Okay. So what do you mean by SST states? I don't know what you mean by SST. State by state taxes. So Ivy, the sales tax is based on the location of the customer. Okay, where they live. And then it depends on whether or not you were required to file in that state. And what do you call it? Whether or not you have to file, I'm going to go through that because it's not a simple answer. Okay. Uh, when we issue sales tax, Brennan asked us, when we issue sales tax for customers and we pay sales use tax for, well, yeah. So what you want to know, like So in the construction industry, okay, because it's really, really complicated. If there's a repair, okay, it's subject to sales tax. In other words, somebody came in and fixed the wall, okay? It's plus sales tax. If it's what they call a capital improvement, there is no sales tax to the owner. But listen to this, the vendor has to pay sales tax on the supplies that he bought. Does that make sense? So I go to a supply house. I'm going to put in somebody's kitchen. I go to a supply house. I buy all the cabinets. That vendor is supposed to charge me sales tax. Okay. Now I build it into my price. Okay. So somebody's paying the sales tax. The owner thinks that they're not paying sales tax, but they are. It's just included in the contractor's price. Okay. Now, let's say it wasn't a capital improvement, it was a repair. I fixed the wall. Now I got to charge my customer sales tax. But I've already paid taxes on the purchase, right? So if I bought materials, let's say for $100, I paid not, let's say $10 in sales taxes, and I charged my customer $200. So if it's 10%, I'm going to charge them $20 and I'm going to get a credit for the $10 that I paid. So you see, now you could see that's one of the easiest examples that I could come up with to explain why it's so complicated. Because there's a lot of contractors, they don't want to collect the sales tax. Even if they do, it's complicated. Okay. They use the wrong forms. And we're going to cover that also. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. All right, but keep is there any construction industry scheme in the US? Do you mean, uh, do they try to cheat? The answer is yes. They try to cheat, not so much that they want to cheat, they just don't want to raise their costs. It's very competitive and they think that they're gonna lose business. Okay. So the use tax, Joy, the use tax is the same rate as the sales tax. Okay. Uh, yes, Sarah, like I said, if you're using it in business and you charge your customers sales tax, you can, but the end, somebody is supposed to pay the sales tax. Okay, somebody is paying it, unless it's totally exempt. Sarah, it would be refunded in the state that you paid. So if you live in New York State, you're going to pay New York State sales tax. All right. Okay, let me go back because like I said, I'm not going into deep dive details. So yeah, first of all, the rates are all different. What's taxable is different. Okay. Sometimes it could even be what's taxable and the amount. So for instance, if you buy clothing in New York State for less than $100, it's not subject to sales tax. If you buy clothing for more than $100, it's subject to sales tax. Okay. I'm going to tell you the marshmallow rule, and this is the truth. When I came into accounting, I heard about the marshmallow rule. Now, everybody knows what a marshmallow is, right? Shake your head. Do you know what a marshmallow is, Marianne? Okay. Sometimes you put them in your hot chocolate. So you put the little ones in the hot chocolate, right? But the big ones, I don't know about you, in the United States, we roast them. We roast them. So somebody was explaining to me the marshmallow roll. So if you have a store, like let's say a grocery store, and you're selling the two different kinds of marshmallows, you're selling the big marshmallows and the little marshmallows. The big marshmallows are non-taxable because it's considered food. It's considered a grocery item. But the little marshmallows are considered a condiment. It's like something you add to like hot chocolate or something. So the little marshmallows are taxable. So at that time, barcodes weren't really that popular. Not everybody used them. A lot of things were done in cash. This was, 40 years ago. A lot of things were done in cash. And usually you had somebody at the cash register that wasn't college educated. It's usually a kid, right? Now you think they're gonna know the marshmallow rules? How are they gonna know the marshmallow rules? They got all to do to count the money. And that was my introduction to sales tax. So if you could think about that, try to wrap your head around that and wrap your head around the fact that you're trying to advise business owners that don't want to collect sales tax to begin with. Okay. You have people that don't want to pay the sales tax, and you have all different kinds of crazy rules. Okay. So some items, so the rule of thumb is most items are taxable unless it's a service. Most services aren't taxable. So accounting, legal, medical, and then you have exemptions, like medicine is exempt. Okay, drugs, prescription drugs are exempt. Most grocery food items are exempt. Okay. Then you also have exemptions for different types of businesses, not for profits. So if you're a not for profit, you can be exempt from being charged sales tax. So even if you're buying something that's normally taxable, you could be exempt. Government agencies are exempt. So any kind of government agency, not for profit, are exempt. Churches are exempt from sales tax. Okay, so those are the overall rules. I already talked about the localities. And then you also sometimes you run across what they call special districts. So like New York State could say, hey, we're going to charge sales tax on this now, and we never charged this before. It'll be an additional tax. So how do you keep up with this? You look at the forms every quarter. You look at the forms. I'm going to see if I could do something here, just so you get an idea. Now, Marianne, can you see my second screen, or do I have to?
No, I'm seeing the
I want to show you the New York State. Another thing. So can you see my screen? I'm scrolling down.
Ikaw siya, the Google from the
Yes,
Google.
yes. Okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
So another tip. So you could see up on top here, it says sponsored. Okay, Ecosia is just another search engine like Google. But those people are trying to sell you something. Whenever you want to research something for a government form, you want to go to .gov. Okay, .gov means it's what it says, a government. Uh, okay, so you got to e-file everything, but here's the form in case. So it's pretty simple. They want your gross sales, your non-taxable sales, and then these are the different counties. See, each county, so they have different rates. So imagine you're a business and you're actually selling to people in all these different counties. So here they have a special tax on car rentals. Okay, car sharing, vape products. Wow, it's 20% on vape products. Okay. That's a lot of jurisdictions that you got to keep track of. So this is, I'm just showing you if it's only New York State, and that would mean that you live in a county that has no sales tax. I don't know if one exists, it probably does, but there you could see there's a lot of different counties in New York State. So if it's only New York State, it's 4%. If you're in Broome County, it's 8%. That's because Broome County added another 4%. Okay, so we talked about taxable goods and services, exemptions and exclusions. Let's talk about nexus now. Okay. So nexus is a term uh it's a legal term that has to do. So when I started, there was a court case, and this was before me. It was a company called Quill. Okay, Quill sold office supplies, and it was back then they had no internet. It was what they call a mail order business. So they would send the catalog out. People would order the supplies in all different states. Okay. Will would mail them the supplies and not charge them sales tax. Okay, so Quill, I don't know where they were located. Let's say they were located in New York State. If they sold it to somebody in one of those counties in New York State, they would have to charge based on where that client was. So if somebody was in Dutchess County, they're going to get charged 8.5%. If they're in Broome County, they're going to get charged 8%. So it's a lot of accounting. It's a Not only do you have to keep track of sales, you got to keep track of where the sales are. Okay. Uh, there was a court case about Nexus. So one of the state, and I don't know which state it was, they took Quill to court, and so now it gets to the federal level. Okay, this is where the federals come in. There's a court case that has to do with state versus state. Okay. And what the court said was Quill did not have a physical presence in any of those states. What does that mean? They didn't have an office. They didn't have employees. They didn't send salespeople out there. There was no physical activity. Okay. Fast forward to 2018. So now, all these states are saying, hey, now they got to find out who has a physical presence. Now, this is where, again, I butted heads with a lot of accountants. They just simply don't know the nexus rules. If your company has an employee in another state, you have to be registered there, which means not only for sales tax, for income tax, withholding tax, everything. Okay. So what they did now, and I'm going to see if I can get this for you. In 2018, Wayfair. So Wayfair is one of these internet companies. Okay. And they sell like household goods. South Dakota, one of the states, took Wayfair to court saying that Wayfair should collect sales tax. Okay. It went to the Supreme Court again, and the Supreme Court changed the rules again. And they changed it to, and I'm going to download this. I'm going to give this to everybody. They changed it to what they call economic nexus. And what does that mean? So every state, let's see if I could show this to you. I'm going to put this in the chat. Every state has their own economic nexus. So in other words, Arizona, if I do more than 100, that if I have, and this applies to me too, Bedrock. If I have clients that pay me more than $100,000, I have to register in Arizona. Okay. Alaska has no state sales tax, but the nexus rules applies to all taxes, not just sales taxes. So Arkansas is 100,000 in sales or 200 transactions. California is 500,000. So I have a client that she sells refurbished medical equipment, believe it or not. And she sells it through eBay. So now eBay is one of those internet companies that they decided also that they were going to voluntarily collect sales tax. Okay, so I just uploaded the economic nexus by state. It's in the chat. Okay. Uh, so yeah, so she does most of her sales through eBay. So eBay is collecting the sales, but she also does direct. People will contact her through her website, I guess. And
Joe, slide is not
yeah,
moving. I think you're in slide 15 now.
yeah, I don't think
16.
I've
Yeah.
changed it.
14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I know, I'm still explaining from the last slide, the Nexus rules. So for her, so she'll ship items. She's in California, she's registered. She'll ship items to all different counties and then she has to look up what's the rate in that county, and she'll ship to other states. So now I got to keep track of her sales in those other states. Uh, Also now they started taxing things like software, digital services. Okay. So we talked about, okay, the other areas that you got to be aware of. So there's the economic nexus. That's pretty simple. It's a dollar amount. Physical presence. If you have an office, an employee, if you're physically doing business in that state. But then you also have these other areas that are open for interpretation. Digital and online presence. Well, what does that mean? I'm all over the world. I don't know what that means. I guess it's going to go by, case by case. Uh, okay, next slide. So like I said, it doesn't just apply to sales taxes. Those nexus rules apply to everything. Okay, if you're doing business in that state wants you to file. They want all their fees, they want their taxes. Okay, not just the sales taxes. So these companies are what they call marketplace facilitators. Companies like Amazon, eBay, Wayfair, companies that are all over the place. And Amazon was going to have a battle anyway because they have all these contractors that are delivering. They don't just sell it and send it like through the postage. They actually have contractors that are bringing it. So they were going to lose in court anyway. We talked about the Wayfair decision. Now let's talk about who is required to file. Who has to file and what payments. So the first thing is your client has to determine if they're required to register. So like if you have a construction business, you're required to register. You don't have a choice. You got to look up what's the law. As an accountant, I'm not required to register. Okay. Now, once you register, you have to file. Okay. So who has, if you're buying and selling goods, if you're a wholesaler, you have to register. Okay. If you're a retail store, you have to register. If you're a restaurant, you have to register. Okay. So pretty much you could say everybody has to register unless you don't. Okay. Unless you don't. And how do you know you don't? Like I said, if you're in one of those industries like accounting, like bookkeeping, uh, like web design, but you see, even web design, you might have to be careful. Okay. I don't know if web design is exempt in all the states. And I don't know this because I don't have any clients that do web design. Okay. Coaching, life coaching is not subject. Okay. And then you might also be required to have some permits if you're in the food industry. Okay, you got to have permits and they got to be listed. Filing and payment deadlines. So now here's the thing. If you're required to register, that means that you're required to collect the sales tax. And if you don't pay it, your you're on the hook personally. You're personally responsible. Even if you're a corporation, it's what they call trust fund taxes. You're entrusted with that money. Now, unfortunately, what happens is a lot of businesses get into trouble because they don't file or they don't pay, and they're using the sales tax to pay their bill. I've had clients where it was better to uh, to open up a separate sales tax account. Okay, so that they didn't like commingle their money. Normally, again, each state is going to be different, and each state it's going to depend on the volume of taxes that you collect as far as how often you're going to have to file. Normally, it's quarterly. Okay, but if you go over a certain threshold, like I know in New York State, I forget what the threshold is, but then you have to file monthly. Okay. And again, everything is going to be electronic. There are no annual sales tax returns. They're either quarterly or monthly. Okay. Every state is going to have their own sales tax portal. Okay, that's where you would have to go to file. Now, penalties, they're on this, even if you don't owe any money. I know in New York State, if you don't file, it's a $50 penalty. And like any other return in the US, you can amend. You can amend the returns. Now, record keeping when it comes to sales tax is a lot more stringent than when it comes to just regular income taxes. So just be aware, the IRS will audit federal returns. We're talking about state and local returns here. So it's not the federal government that's going to audit the business owner, it's the state government. And I have to tell you, the state with sales tax is not like the federal government. They audit a lot of businesses. So the record keeping, you really have to be diligent about what record you're keeping, because that should show exactly how much sales tax you charged, how much you collected. Okay, and that's what they're going to want to see. Other sales tax issues. Okay, so sometimes we have what they call a sales tax holiday. They'll say, oh, for Thanksgiving, Black Friday, there's no sales taxes. That's a big sales day. So you got to keep track of this, tax-free days. Okay, calculating sales tax. Okay, there's all kinds of other issues. What if somebody comes in with a coupon? Do you still charge the full sales tax? The answer is yes. If they got a $5 coupon, and the item is $100, they're going to pay sales tax on $100, not 95. Okay. Then you have returns. What if somebody returns something and like I know I just bought electronics, they wanted a 20% restocking fee. 20%. So now am I paying sales tax on the restocking fee? I don't, that was in the Philippines, but I would think in the United States, they're probably going to charge sales tax on the restocking fee. Freight. So again, my client charges freight. when she ships this merchandise? Is the freight subject to sales tax? You have to find out. Okay. There's only one way to, don't try to remember any of this. So what I do is I go to the state of California where she's charging and I say, is freight subject to sales tax? So when you're calculating it, because a lot of times when we're doing the sales taxes, we're taking the client's records and we're trying to work backwards. If I have, in other words, if I have the client's gross sales and everything is taxable, I could just, use math and figure how much of that was sales tax. So if he's depositing $10,000 and I gotta, just like what happens with my construction clients, they say, okay, that's 10,000 including the sales tax. Was there, now I gotta ask him, was there anything that was not taxable? In other words, did you do any work for, if you did work for a church, that's not taxable. Okay, so you got to be careful with these clients. You're talking about especially people in the construction industry. They're not keeping track of this stuff unless you tell them to. Okay, how do you collect it? So now everything is automated. It's usually, everything should be programmed into the system. If you're doing multi-state, like my client, you're going to have some kind of tracking. So she uses a spreadsheet and she doesn't have that many sales. She has like maybe 20 sales a quarter. So she actually gives me the spreadsheet and then I got to extrapolate everything. We talked about exemptions and exclusions. Most of the time it's clothing, food, medical supplies, prescription drugs. Okay. Uh, some things just, so those are exclusions. And then you have things like I said, professional services just aren't subject to sales taxes. Okay, so we talked about the marshmallow rule. I said nonprofits are not subject to sales tax, government entities, and then you have specific goods and services. What's going on going forward? It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better for business owners. Uh, just like with income taxes, there's a lot of people that don't comply with sales tax rules. Now, you could become an expert on sales taxes. What I would, if you're in the e-commerce uh, arena, that will get clients' attention. Okay. Because anybody that has an e-commerce business like my client it's easy to get confused. It's very easy to get confused, especially if they're doing business in multiple states. We have a prospect. I don't know what's going on with this guy, but he's actually a foreigner. He if I told you what his business was, it's kind of strange, but let's just say they sell dog biscuits. Okay. He's got a partner in South Dakota. This guy's selling dog biscuits all over the country. They're sending it directly. He's more than likely got to be registered in all those different counties, all those different states. And the way they're going to catch him if he doesn't is the same way they're going to catch people moving with the postal service. Okay. They see who's getting packages and they see who's delivering them. And what they'll do is they're not going to go to the people buying. They're going to go right to him, right to South Dakota. Okay, so I gave you the state nexus rules. Okay. Let me make sure that this is the right one. Yes, okay. So in here, I have some more information. I have some links to sales tax programs. Especially, if you're doing e-commerce in multiple states, you might want to look at this. So I'm going to share this in the chat again, and then we're going to go to any questions. Oh, there's the economic nexus. Okay, so I just put economic nexus and the sales tax overview. Uh, so I'm going to go up to the last question. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of questions here. Let me see. S'mores, yeah.
Yeah. There's from Joanna Marie.
Okay.
Preston. Will I read it?
Wait, I see Joanna. Okay, I think the last question I answered was from Sarah. If it's refundable, will it become sales tax? Uh, yeah, I think I said that's going to be refunded to uh, it's going to be refunded from wherever you paid the sales tax. Okay, so case rain and case to case, we successfully refunded. Yes, there are statute of limitations. Thank you, Rainen. Yes, there's always a threshold. Lou's like s'mores and roasted marshmallows. Is it true that these 5 states? Yeah, it's possible. I just saw that Alaska. Yeah, we can go. Alaska has no sales tax. Delaware, no sales tax. Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. Yeah, good job, Joanna. Okay, how about the side of the customers? How is it recorded if you purchase an item? If you're gonna be entitled to a credit, Norman, no, I'm sorry, Normina. If you're gonna be entitled to a credit because like you're in the construction business, what you want to do is break out the sales tax. Because every month or every quarter when you do that, you're gonna need that number. So you might as well just put it into your accounting system. Yeah, that's right, Sarah. You want to record it properly. So Michelle asks if registered sales tax in these states like California, because we have a warehouse. Uh, yeah, you file a final return. Uh, whenever you move, you gotta if you're moving uh to a different state, you definitely want to close out that that account. If my client is registered, so Michelle, if my client is registered in sales tax because in a trade show, okay. So again, you know, you would have to look up if you're required to register and file for, I'm pretty sure you do. Okay, I'm pretty certain. I would be surprised if you don't, but I believe that there's like you could file as a temporary vendor. Okay, but again, it's going to depend on the state. My client is a seller, so this is from Zap, is a seller in Amazon. Now Amazon. So what I do, Zap, is I put it in as not taxable. And it depends on the state. So Zap wants to know where because for the sales that he does in on Amazon, it's already being reported. So I want to report everything, and I'll tell you why. If the state ever decides to audit my client, they're going to look at his deposits. They're going to look at deposit, uh, and if it doesn't match the tax return, there could be an issue. Okay, so I report the gross, and then I'll either put it in there for resale or as non-taxable. Okay, Ivy. Sales tax in the US is a pass on it, right? Yes. Again, Ivy, so the question is, if you're reselling, if you're reselling merchandise and you paid sales tax on it, you're gonna get a credit. Yeah, just like you do in VAT. So Joanna, the question about freight, again, it goes to the state. You got to look up the state and say, is freight, do I charge my customer sales tax on freight? That's the question. So Sarah, I don't understand. You say, so there's no in-state regulation as explained. Yeah, all the state uh, has to be explained. Okay, so I got a lot of thank yous. Okay. All right. That's it. I know a lot of people are dropping off. We're over an hour here. I want to thank everyone for their time. I hope that you uh, got something out of this. There is a lot. Uh, we're going to probably expand on this. I'm putting together a sales tax course on the construction industry, e-commerce, in particular, and then I'm going to do sales tax course, I think, for California and for New York. And if there's anything else that people are interested, let me know. Uh, Another thing I want to put out there is our Jumpstart community. Uh, we've had it going for, I don't know, 9 or 10 months now. We have over 1,600 people in the Facebook group. So if you're not uh, in the Facebook group, at least join the Facebook group. It's free. And then we have our premium membership where we're actually taking you through step by step uh, how to start your own agency. And Janine, are you still here? Do you have anything you want to announce? Thank you, Eileen. Eileen put the link in the chat. Marianne, you have any announcements?
Yeah, just every Saturday, same time, 8 a.m., we have a guest speaker, Mr. Eric, and of course the Jumpstart Premium every Monday. Yes, and I think you have
Yeah, and
another
the
webinar
time
August
I
28th.
I think we were talking about making it a little bit later on Saturdays, but we haven't finalized that yet. All right. If there's no other questions, again, I want to thank everyone. And Janine, did you have an announcement?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. Yeah, my lights are turned off. But guys, I those who wants to enroll to our sales tax course, I we will just put the link in the chat in the yeah, so you can enroll now. Yeah, that's it, Joe.
That's it. All right, cool. All right, thank you, everyone. We have a new Bedrock world record. We had 177 people. Thank you, and I look forward to more courses in the future. Eileen, are we doing a picture?
Yes. Please open up your camera. There. Uh, okay. Let's wait for the others. So everybody, sweet smile. Just hold on to your smile because we are in the four pages, four screen. So 1, 2, 3, smile. There. Yes, thank you so much. There. What is that, Coach Yan Yan?
Messages aim.
Hmm. Thank you, everyone.
Good. All right, God bless.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hello, thank you, staff.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
Thank
Thank you
Eileen.
so
you.
much. Bye.
Thank you, coaches. Leave na ta.